welcome again to Heal Your Shadow Relationships. I am your host, Neola Sparkus, and today we have with us a wonderful treat. They are a beautiful soulmate couple, Mali Apple and Joe Dunn. And not only are they a wonderful soulmate couple, but they are relationship coaches, of course, lovers, and best friends. And they wrote a best-selling book together. The book is called The Soulmate Experience. It's a practical guide to creating extraordinary relationships, which is what we're all about over here. And it won the 2012 International Book Awards Gold Medal, very nice, and also the 2012 Living Now Awards Silver Medal. And it has been called a relationship guide masterpiece. This is wonderful. It sounds fantastic. It's also been called a catalyst for transformation in life, relationships, and self. So not just relationships, because it's all combined. And you guys are working on the sequel right now, right?
We are.
Tell us about that.
Well, the sequel, we don't have the subtitle yet pinned down, but the
Okay.
sequel is called Soulmate Lover.
Soulmate Lover, great.
And it sort of picks up where the Soulmate Experience left off.
Fantastic. So welcome to Heal Your Shadow Relationships. And we've been talking about how people can heal the shadow within themselves. And the two of you, being soulmates, were talking to me about how you help each other to heal the shadow. So where do you want to begin on that fabulous topic?
You know, I was thinking about this a little bit, and we have a whole chapter on it in our first book called Playing Leapfrog, which is a metaphor we came up for the process. Do you want to explain why we use leapfrog?
Sure. It's very much like the children's game of Leapfrog, where but in this case, your partner who is in one area maybe just a little bit more evolved than you, or maybe can see a place where you can sort of make a leap. So the partner's job is to be that stable base, and so that you can put your hands on his or her shoulders and leap right over into that new possibility that they see for you.
So how this is related to the shadow is so often things that that are in us that need healing, that they're going to come up in our relationship, and that's what our relationships are for. They function to bring to the light anything that needs work, needs healing, needs to be looked at. It's just you can't help it. It's going to do that. So what I was thinking about, though, in talking to you, Neil, is that so much of this work we do ourselves, and it has to be done ourselves. But when we have we create this safe container between the two of us, something magical happens. And I found that Joe can help me heal something that I may have worked on for many years, and having him there saying, no, this is totally okay for you to have this in you. It not only heals it in relationship to him, but I go out in the world and it's done. It's gone. It has been healed in the presence of this alchemy between us.
That is so beautiful. I've been talking here about the shadow relationship, but you guys have a soulmate relationship, and you're using it for the purpose of healing the shadow. So that's definitely something very, very different. Now, do you have like a definition of what the soulmate relationship is? Is there?
To me, I honestly, the more that I dove into this, because we felt that connection that everybody calls a soulmate connection, but the more that we delved into it, it came to me that everybody is connected at a soul level. One of the most basic spiritual principles that pervades every brand of spirituality is the idea that we are all one, we're all connected. If that's the case, we're all soulmates. There's we differentiate into these bodies or these presence of these personalities, but at the core we're all one. So we're all soulmates. So our real contention in our book was that anybody who's open to it could have that experience with someone in their lives, even if somebody they already know.
So now, if anybody can have that experience, what makes something a soulmate relationship then? I mean, is there a distinction?
Well, I think it's being everybody can have it, but I don't know that everybody tunes into it and tunes into the other person.
Ah, I got
But
you. Yeah.
maybe we do, or we see people do. So
Well, that's a really important distinction because when you say tune in to the other person, I mean, I could give you what I think that means, but maybe you want to elaborate on that a little bit more.
Well, I think one of the things is creating that space where of acceptance. So that's a huge step. It's an easy thing once you've done it.
and it's easy to talk about too.
But creating a space in which anything you bring up, I'm going to accept, and by accept I mean accept that that's part of your reality now. It doesn't mean I condone it if it's a kind of behavior that I don't feel is healthy. It doesn't mean I condone it. It doesn't mean I won't help you try to address it. But it means that I accept that that's your experience, that's what you're working with right now. When we can really have that, we have that space where we can start working, with what comes up for each of us. And oftentimes there's layers, right? I might I might be working with something that I'm carrying and I've been carrying for years, and Joe can just totally be there with me and help me with it. But sometimes the deeper stuff, it'll bring, when I'm talking about it, it'll bring something up in you.
Right.
And we have to be, we have to be working, both of us.
Like simultaneously back and forth. So.
Yeah, which takes a little skill.
It does. So the two of you are really describing something. I want to say, oh my goodness, it's so intimate. It's so intimate to accept what is going on with the two of you every moment, accept what's going on with your partner every moment. And obviously, that's not something that everybody can do with everybody. But then we find the person that we are very open to. And that's what the acceptance, that's what, is required in order to have that kind of acceptance, is that level of openness.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes people can do it with a friendship.
Yes.
Right? That they can be completely accepting of this person, even though they're making choices they wouldn't make, and be able to help them and work with them because of the atmosphere of acceptance.
Yeah, and I know that you kind of made that point before, where you have to create a context, you have to create a safe space in order for whatever is going on with you. Like you said, you were carrying something around for a long time. In order for that to be able to come up, in order for the other person to be able to accept it and see it. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about how to create that safe space.
Right, and context is one important piece to that. And context it's an intention for the relationship. It's why I'm in the relationship, and having a sort of a conscious reason for being here that I can create when we're feeling really strong, so that when things get dicey, when we're working with something really, really sticky, we can turn back to that and say, wait a second, I'm here for whatever it is. And it could be for this purpose of the relationship, that we're here. I'm just trying to make one up in the moment, but we're here to accept and heal whatever comes up. Let's just use that as a context, because it's very specific. So when things could get confusing, right? Because if we're talking about, something from my past, let's say I'm having issues that are coming up because I was abused as a child, right? That can permeate every part of my life, and it can make things really confusing when we start going in there to try to help work with it. So when I might get emotional, or you might get emotional, we go, wait a second, why are we here again? We're not here to.
What's that context again?
Yeah.
What's that context again? Yeah, it's a constant reminder, right?
Yeah.
So, and especially when you do get emotional, that is the time to pull up the skills, to pull up the tools. So just because you guys are soulmates, it doesn't mean that you never get emotional, that's, everything's just la-di-da and it's all going along great. It actually means that you're committed to doing the work together.
Absolutely.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
And have seen the results of it.
Right. Yeah. So that makes it easier to do the next time that it comes up. When you see the results of doing that inquiry and being so intimate with each other, it makes it a lot easier to do it subsequently.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the process. And if you want to give us some specific examples, I'd love to take our viewers through a little, through a little ride, a little journey, a process of how does an issue come up? How do you handle it? How do you create the safe space? How do you remember the commitment? All that stuff.
So I have to talk about one that's just so funny to me. You want to get it? It's so hot in here.
I know,
you
it's dying.
You want to go get it while I start talking?
Yeah, let me right back.
Yeah, it is. It's like 90 degrees in our area in California right now. So when Joe and I first got together, for many, many years that I could remember, I had this idea that my feet were too large. And I was committed to that belief, and I did everything I could to minimize how they looked. Well, he and I had been going out for a few months, and we were at a beach house, and we had taken a walk on a beach, and we got back inside, and as we were standing and I looked at our feet on the wood, I realized, bare feet, my feet were bigger than his feet. Oh my God, I can never let him see this. I've got to stand over here so that he never sees that my feet are larger than his. Well, the relationship we already had, and we certainly have today, is whenever we feel in each other, oh, there's something going on here. There's something they're having difficulty with. It's like that is our cue to go. You want to talk about something? What's going on with you? And we know, oh God, I have to talk about this. I have to confess my fear of my large feet. So
it sounds so comical, and yet the truth is, women have so many messages about being diminutive and being demure, and is that feminine to have large feet? And I totally can understand how that could become something like, using your words, that you're carrying, that oh my God, I have to hide them, and I don't want him to notice my feet are bigger than his.
Yes.
So what happens then after you bring that up?
So in this case, he just gets this smile on his face, like, wow, okay, this is an easy one.
Yeah.
This one we can work with really easily, like, and he's back, so I'm going to let him talk a little bit about it. He got the fan on.
There's a little air there.
That's good. Yeah, I know it's very hot here too today. We've got 102 today here.
Oh,
Wow. Yeah. So what are we talking about? Feet?
So what would you do if I told you, just to confess to you that I didn't want you to know that my feet were larger than yours?
Oh. Well, I ended up spending a good afternoon making love to her feet. Taking her into the bathroom, sitting her up on the counter so that her feet could get in the sink, and washing her feet for her, and just really loving her feet. And, by the end of our session...
You talked about what they did for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, all the great things that her feet had done for her, and the whole time I'm either massaging her feet or...
Talking about that, and, getting me to recognize how beautiful they are and what they've done for me and will continue to do, and how the size of them was totally irrelevant. And honestly, and this is what I mean by he helped me heal it for my entire life. I cannot imagine ever feeling again like my feet are too big. They look different to me now, very different to me now than they did before that point. I remember looking at them and thinking they're so horrible and ugly, and I don't have that feeling at all anymore. I paint my toenails, they're so cute. Wear sandals, cute sandals. Yeah. It's amazing to me what that amount of love can do, can transform.
That is beautiful. So now you just gave me that visual, you're looking down at your feet and they look like they're 6 feet long or something like that, right? And now you're looking at them and going, hey, that's a perfectly normal foot, because you were finally able to put a lot of love around it, accept that this is your size foot. It has served you well in life. It has kept your balance, all of those things for your height and whatever. So is that the way that you handle every single issue that comes up, is by giving it love, kind of loving it into acceptance? Is that how you would handle, let's say, something a little tougher than a big feet? Do you have another example of maybe a kind of a hairy issue that might be a little tough?
Sure. And we've taken this into our next book, where we have a chapter on sexual healing. So we're talking about how to do this with a partner, with anything from ideas, all the ideas we have about our bodies, even to something like, I believe I'm too small to satisfy a woman. And how would you, if you're in love with a man who believes he's too small, and whether he really is too small to satisfy you or not, there's so much you can do, that all of it is done, of course, in an environment of acceptance and love. But what I've always played with, and what's so fun, is to come up with, okay, so if you believe you're too small to satisfy me, for the next 5 hours, you're going to satisfy me in every way but using your penis. And let's see how true this statement is, that you're too small to satisfy me. And by showing the person that their belief, by punching holes in it, essentially, but in a really loving, fun, connected way, they can begin to see that, wait a second, maybe this statement isn't true, that I'm too small to satisfy my girlfriend. And then we can start to look at what are I know it's hard to believe for a man who feels he's too small from before they've been in part of this process, that there could be advantages to this, but let's explore whether there are. Let's just go on a 10-week exploration of what could possibly be the advantages of being your size, and see how many we can find. It's like having this attitude of exploration and fun and connection, and you're okay the way you are, and we're just going to explore you the way we are. That is so healing.
Wow. So that was an amazing example, and thank you for your courage in bringing up something that is such an intimate issue for so many men and so many people. And what strikes me about the two of you, so many couples will sit down and have a talk, but you guys, you actually come up with an exercise, it seems like.
We don't have talks.
We don't have talks.
Talks seem like a waste of time.
Yeah.
No, we're going to have a talk.
Or a discussion.
No, this is beautiful. So you immediately put it into action. Your bodies are getting the message. It's not just about what's going on in the brain. You're not living from the neck up, and your heart is into it, your body is into it. And it's like, okay, it's almost like, if this is an issue, there's an assignment. And
as soon as you start that assignment, Neola, it's like it shifts you, right? You could talk about it and stay stuck in that, right, for hours if you want. But as soon as you get into some sort of exploration to really delve into it, it's like you make this shift away from this belief or this place that you were stuck, right away. It's really, really amazing. And then as you go on in the exploration, you really find out that maybe there was no reason to be.
Hearing both of you talk, I'm getting that part of what we do is get it out of the head and, like you said, into the body, and into the soul, and into the heart, and bring all those pieces into looking at this thing that we think is an issue, because primary, that issue is up here. So by bringing in all the rest of that, and how we do it is through these explorations. Like all my life, I've just immediately come up with, like, you think that? Okay, let's challenge that with this exercise. And getting a partner that's going, ooh, this is fun. Let's come up. He just comes up with more than I do these days. So how can we approach this?
So that's perfect. And so the leapfrog exercise, you don't really do that physically with each other, do you?
Not usually.
really about trying to find a way to get you to see it another way, to get you to approach it differently, or to get us to do some kind of experience to expand your belief about yourself.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it's a powerful game.
That's perfect. I know you've got a whole bunch of other powerful games, like you were talking about your first book. Well, I mean, the book that's out now, as opposed to the one that's coming out at the end of the year. You had a whole chapter on reducing your baggage, which is something that a person would do on their own rather than in couple. And I was wondering if you wanted to pull out a few little tips on how we can reduce our baggage, which to me is how to heal the shadow, of course.
It absolutely is.
It absolutely is, yeah. And I think it's really typical that we come into a relationship oftentimes with a lot of baggage, or what we think is a lot of baggage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a partner is the perfect person to dump all that baggage right at their feet and say, let's go through it, right?
So, but in terms of looking at it on your own, one man once said, if you want to know what's holding you back in your relationships, ask your last partner. They know all your stuff, all the stuff that you don't want to bring out, you don't want to look at. And I think that chapter has been called by more than one person. They say it's a 12-step program, because we really want to take you through looking at anything, how you've what you've tried to hide, to how you've held yourself back, to the gifts, what could be called the light shadow, right? To the gifts and talents you have that you haven't been expressing, all of that. And to take a look at all of that is really helpful before you get into a relationship. But if you're already in one, it's helpful while you're in it too. So we lead people through a process of looking at, are there any times that you've exaggerated something to make yourself feel better, even in a small way? I can still see myself doing that these days. I mean, I notice it instantly, whether I'm big enough in the moment to say, you know what, I just exaggerated that. This is the real truth. But that's a wonderful thing when I'm able to do that. But it really to be honest with yourself about your stuff makes you much more available for a really connected relationship.
Well, it would be totally ideal to divest yourself of your baggage before the relationship, but boy, that is a seriously tall order.
Yeah, rarely does that happen,
Yeah,
I think.
I don't think so, because you never know till you get into the relationship. Oh, there was this stuff underneath all of that.
Yeah, you didn't realize how many bags you had.
That's right. It was just weighing you down. So let's just talk about like maybe one or two things, some practical tips that people can do to unearth that baggage. You mentioned so many beautiful, amazing things about what's holding you back, and it could be in the area of your career. But of course, we're talking about relationships. So if you want to come up with an example.
Although it all ties together, but
It does. It does.
If you have a relationship with an ex-partner where you can have an open conversation with them about let's look at how our relationship went, as though we were talking about it, as though there were two other people we're talking about, and talk about what I brought into it, what you brought into it, what happened during the way, what kind of snarls we got into, what we weren't able to be honest with each other about. I mean, how revealing could that be?
That's such a good point. And even if you don't have a great relationship with your ex, you don't see him, whatever, you don't talk, you can reflect on that yourself.
Yes.
If you can be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And actually, an exercise is coming into my head. You're giving me an idea about journaling from their point of view.
Oh, that's fabulous.
What the relationship was to them. You know your story.
Yes.
What would they say? If you know their story, I mean, a lot of times we listen to our partner, and especially if it's a doomed relationship we want out, we just figure they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can take into account, what if there is some truth to what they're saying, and then it takes then it takes courage to like really own up to that. So
and Neil, if you could do it write the letter from their soul, right? Because then then forget the personality. Say, write the letter from what were you in the relationship for? What did you bring into it? What did you see? How did you see me? What didn't work for you that I was doing? And I really like this idea of a letter. Yeah.
This is good. Good stuff.
And if you can't ask an ex, then definitely I would ask, trusted friends. Let's say 3 trusted friends. Can you tell me the things you most love about me? You think are my greatest gifts, and my job is to take them in. And also tell me what you think are the most difficult, challenging parts of my personality, and I'll take those in.
Yeah. And of course there has to be, like you said, a space of love and acceptance around that, rather than, well, you you always this and you always that. But if you can take it in, if you're courageous enough, if you are mature enough to really look at that, then that's the beautiful thing. That's the key. So, we were talking about reducing all the baggage before you get into a relationship. Do you think, here's a good question for you guys, considering your soulmates, do you think that the more baggage you're able to reduce, the more likely you are to attract the soulmate? Or, is that like a prerequisite for the soulmate?
I think it's much more likely that you'll meet your soulmate if you can get rid of some of your baggage. Yeah, that's what holds us back, right? Is all that baggage that we've developed from whatever previous relationships primarily, right? But also from society and family and friends. So
it holds us back from being who we really are.
Yeah.
And it's when we are who we really are that we can attract somebody who really meshes well with that. That's why the more we can do to let go of that stuff and come into our full self is we're going to attract somebody who's attracted to that, instead of somebody who's, for whatever reasons, are attracted to all the baggage we're carrying. They've got their own. It kind of matches up because we're going to start working on that level.
That's a great point, because once you can free your, what I call the true self, the authentic self, once you can free that part of you, then that's the part that can engage with another person, and they're going to accept your true self more as you accept your. So they'll be the right match for you.
They'll be the right match because they're being attracted to the real you.
The real you,
yeah.
Not you with all the screens up and all the,
protecting yourself, the facade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although if you do attract that partner, then that's the work that you guys got to do together, right?
Yeah.
To get rid of those screens and get rid of those facades. And
that's why I wouldn't say that wasn't a soul relationship too. That's why I think they all are.
That's interesting.
Just may not feel as connected and wonderful as we were hoping for.
Exactly. Well, goodness, this half hour has just flown by. And it's such a joy to speak to you two. You've got this lovely, happy, joyful feeling about the two of you. I feel that you really have such a special connection, and that you both feel very satisfied with it and very fulfilled with it.
Yeah. I think before we go, Neola, I think what we always say is that to me a soulmate relationship is one where you always think that you're getting the good end of the deal, right? And when you have two people in a relationship that they think they're getting the better end of the deal, there's a soulmate relationship for you.
That sounds great. That's perfect. Now, you do have a gift to give away to our viewers. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? And we got the link right down here below the video.
Mantras for Making Love is a collection of affirmations and intentions that you can use on your own or with a partner. And some of them are very oriented towards healing. And one of my favorites is one that Joe came up with me as I started to realize that I'm aging. And I started to obsess about this aging thing. And he said to me, I don't know if you remember exactly
the lines on your face are a celebration of your life. Celebration
of who you are.
Yeah.
It's the way he said it to me, and I said, "Say that again." These lines on your face are a celebration of who you are. I say it again. And what's
Yes.
wonderful about it when you can repeat an affirmation to your partner about a positive thing like that, and they can take it in and really feel it. It is a powerful, loving, connecting thing, and we just had to share that.
I
We
love
connected
that.
this weekend with those mantras, and it was really, I mean, it changed us. I
It,
think.
it did, and honestly, when we were driving home and talking about them and realizing we have to give these away, these are so cool, we were both in tears because we were feeling so much love from just saying them out loud and getting the wording to feel just right. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, how beautiful. So I know everyone's going to want to avail themselves of these beautiful mantras for making love. And I wanted to hear that one over and over again. Your lines are a celebration of your life. The experiences of my life have definitely made an impression on me. What can I say?
No,
The lines on your face are a celebration of your life.
Thank you so much. I love hearing that. I love experiencing the two of your great energy. Thank you so much for being with us here on Heal Your Shadow Relationships. And wish you much, much love and good luck with your new book coming out.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Great to be here.